don't wait.
Don't wait.
Oh yeah, don't wait.
Don't wait. Don't wait till I die.
Don't wait, yeah.
Don't wait.
Don't wait, my brother, don't wait.
Don't wait.
My sister, don't wait.
Don't wait. Don't wait till I
I'm in the hospital, don't wait.
Don't wait.
I'm dying, don't wait.
Don't wait.
I need your help, don't wait.
Don't wait. Don't wait till I die.
Please help me, don't wait.
Don't wait.
Don't wait, don't wait, don't wait.
Don't wait.
I need you help me now,
Don't wait. Don't wait till I die.
Don't wait till I die before you help me. If you want to help me right now. Don't wait, oh sister, don't wait. I said don't wait, my brethren, don't wait. Don't wait till I die before you help me. I need your help. Help me right now. I'm in the hospital, lying on my sick bed. I just need you to help me with my life, and Jehovah will bless you. Don't wait till I die to rain cast and get my body to the grave. I said don't wait when I die before you praise me. Don't wait when I die to cry for me, man. Oh, don't wait when I die to post my photo. This woman was so sick, she was saying got up on her death. I said she went from place to place, but she could not get the treatment she needed. Finally, her son took her to the hospital. And the doctor said they should bring £5 of blood. But this woman could not afford the money. Oh yeah, even her son could not afford the money. He left the mother at the hospital. He went to family member. He went to Uncle Johnny place. He said, Uncle, my mother is dying. I left my mother at the hospital. And the doctor said, we should bring £5 of blood. Uncle, please help my mother. Uncle, help my mother. Uncle, I beg you, help my mother. Please help my mother. Oh, Uncle, help her before she dies. Johnny looked in her face. He said, my son, I don't have no money, oh. My son, no money, oh. What tell your mama say? I don't have no money, oh. I will see what to do. But next week, my son, no money, He went to Auntie Asta's place. He said, Auntie, my mother is dying. I left my mother at the hospital, and the doctor said we should bring £5 of blood. I have come to beg you, Auntie, help my mother. Auntie, please help my mother. Oh, Auntie, help her before she died. Yes, I woke up, entered the house. She brought 500 from her money. She said, my son, I wish you well. I wish you well. Go tell your mama, say, I wish her well. He left, he went to Uncle Bob's place. Papa was so rich.
Good evening, folks. We want to welcome you. This evening, I'm Afonso Ziensot of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. Thank you for joining us this beautiful Monday afternoon, evening, depending on your time, your location. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you so much. We learned a lot today, and we are here to put it into context. In the meantime, don't wait. Welcome to the show.
You are my last hope, my last strength, my last hope. Uncle, please.
Type of good evening. Welcome to Abraham. Good evening to welcome Tai Queen, Amandu Stewart, our Pranton listener and viewer. Thank you for joining us, Madiet. Of course, in the house, good evening. Just hit the share button for us and we'll invite someone at your company. Lpr-Tv Live is on. The panelists will be joining here very shortly. Good evening.
The ball left. He started crying. He said, oh God, Papa God, this life is not fair. What will not become of my mother? Who would I call my mother? Before he reached out the hospital, his mother was gone. He took his home. He started calling Uncle Paul. He was crying, Uncle Paul, Mama is no more.
Good morning, I'm Umar. Welcome joining us this early morning hour from Australia. Good evening. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in and joining the program this evening. I'm Afonso Ziensot.
I'm sending her to take her to the funeral. Don't worry, my son. I'm responsible for a funeral. My son, don't worry. I'm responsible for waking me. Oh, my son. Keep courage, don't worry. As I said, I will do the dressing. And then Johnny said, I will do the rain. Oh, don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. Oh, yeah, don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait till I
yeah, the life we living, people don't help. The only way they have on you are dead. And they will post their photos on Facebook. Mama was so good. Papa was so good.
Nice.
Mama.
So when people
mama,
are together, they are doing great, and that's what they do.
Mondays are on the street.
Mr. Guer is in the house. Good evening, Mr. Guer. Welcome to our theater Unbreakable. What we breaking here tonight, please? I can't even do that. I will not even try. Good evening, gentlemen. So welcome in the house of LPR.
You will do the expense. I'm in the hospital. Don't wait. I'm dying. Don't wait. I need your help. Don't wait.
This song here, the core time message of this song here, let avoid crisis. We should avoid managing crisis because we are not good at managing crisis. So we should learn to get ahead of the game. This is the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. I'm Afonso Ziensot, your host. And Angle to want to welcome our guys here this evening. Nathan just marching into this evening party. Welcome to the party here, Nathan. We're going to have some a lot of full stuff here this evening. Africans, European, and all mixed here. Welcome to the show. I'm Afonso Ziensot. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get a program going here. Time is fast spent. Let's get a ball rolling. Good evening to our viewers and listeners across the globe. I am Afonso Zienso, back here at the New England Bureau Desk of the Liberia Public Radio. We say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on your location. And thank you for sharing your evening, your time with us here as usual. Your commitment to this network is not only to the network I see here for the Republic of Liberia, because we all are stakeholders. Don't let anybody tell you that you are not a stakeholder, because you should determine your own destination when it comes to your country. You should be able to have a voice. They have your political leaders, they have your advocate, but I tell you, you are so crucial and vital when it comes to deciding the fate of your country, and do not let anyone trample over a take charge of your own situation, to be your voice. You can adequately to represent yourself. You know what is burning inside, outside of you. You are more or less familiar with your own situation as compared to me or any other person who profess to be the one to champion your cause. Do not accept that. We do value them. We do accept them that they are leaders and those who want to contest for the higher office of the land. That we can give it to them. At the same time, we must take hold, we must be our own voice, we must champion our cause because you feel the pain. Well, a lot is unfolding. We all listened. I was listening to the speech today, and then maybe I ate enough, or from the journey from Minnesota, I was very, very much exhausted. I didn't even end it. I passed out, slept. 2 point what? 3, about 2 hours, 3 hours something minutes of a speech. That was huge. Let me see here. I noted the time here, but that was very, very, very long speech here. But it's very early to give it, to dissect, to really to get to. Yeah, a lot was said. So, yeah, 3 hours, 3.2 hours. That was a long speech. So the interpretation of that speech will be varies. But you listen as a Liberian, you will have your say here as well. We would intend to put a number out here. But what is happening within the ruling establishment as well? A regime is being called a Saul regime. We know the little brief history about Saul in the Bible. How is it happening now? Things seems to be falling apart within the ruling establishment. We saw the press release from the National Patriotic Party as well. During the end of the week, we're in Minnesota, where the group of Liberians honored the gavetes of the organizations of Liberians in Minnesota. OLM met senior government officials. Remember, recently, government sanctions or the closure or temporary halt of the consulate in Minnesota prompted a quick actions by the people in Minnesota to honor the leadership of the organizations of Liberia in Minnesota. They contacted the government of Liberia, and 2 senior government officials were dispatched immediately. That was the very first of its kind since the establishment been very spontaneous coming forward. It was just bum, bum, bum. And I guess they knew the gravity of it. Walt, Minister Gray, Deputy Minister for Legal Affairs, and Deputy Minister for Administration, Comfort Sawyer, the wife of the late Amos Claudia Sawyer. They were in Minnesota during the end of the week. And Minister Gray took to the podiums, and where she was able to have a dialogue. The conversation was very cordial. The leadership, on the leader of Committee Day and of OLM, they were all involved in the conversations. Questions were asked. I must admit, she was very tolerant. She came say, well, I've come to listen, and we can have a conversation. And one thing she made crystal clear too was that the company that is, or government is contemplating to take charge, as it was widely reported and were discussed on a variety of news outlets, is not a Ghanaian company. She was very crystal clear on that. And I did even ask the question. Part of that is the government always unwillingness. When things happen, we try to reach out. Other media institution tries to reach out, and people are tight-lipped. And when informations are not forthcoming, people tend to fill in the gap because then it leads to speculation. And that's exactly what unfolded. But she understood, and she was very much, the conversation was very cordial. The Liberal Progressive is joining me here from Saxton, Sacramento. and we're going to be having a conversation. And oh man, and this picture here, I see as a picture here. On this network, we are like a brothers. I mean, we are like a family. I was Mr. Sisa Goya. Sisa Goya is a senior contributor of the Liberia Public Radio. Upon the arrival, I mean, he said, no, you don't need to go in a hotel. We need to hang out. We've been having conversations online. Well, now you come to be, and believe me, see the beautiful Loma Queen there prepared a nice lemon breakfast with some American breakfast. And we're having a breakfast, and believe me, we were all into it. And I just want to point out, we're very, very much grateful. And that was our first time meeting, besides us interfacing on the social media. Let me bring the Liberal Progressive. He seems to be jealous and right now of what I'm doing here as he's looking. Let me bring in the Liberal Progressive of the Liberia Public Radio, Samson Blocko Branto. The house you see behind me is the house that is heavily being contested, and the president is putting out a face, hopefully, to it. The Liberal Progressive, good evening. The Liberal. I'm not hearing you. Samson To. Oh my goodness. Can you check your microphone?
Good evening, Mr. Soul. Thank you very much for your trip. Good evening, Mr. Okay. Speaking.
Are you what's going on with you?
I can hear you and I can hear myself. I'm fine.
Yeah, but are you?
You need to check. Check your system.
No.
Check your system because I can hear.
Yeah, but if you're hearing me, I'm hearing you.
I can't hear you now.
What do you mean by you can't hear me? You not start again today?
I cannot hear you. Check your system because I can hear myself on your on
yeah,
on
but
the Facebook.
Where the problem is, you don't need to be listening to that. You need to listen to the audio that is going through the system. So that's why you're having multiple voices.
Check your system.
So, okay, let me get you off, and maybe you want to come back because I think you are corrupted the voice, the audio system, because I'm getting you loud.
I'm listening. Can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. My fault. So let's go ahead.
Can you tell me sorry, please?
I said my fault.
You gotta do it hurry like that. Okay. Okay. The Liberal, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Soul. Thank you very much. And thanks for the trip in Minnesota. And I also want to say thanks to our brother, sister, who always, any of us, just not on the LPR family, but anybody that goes over there and you get around him, you know how good it is. He's very, very, very nice.
Look at that breakfast, my man. Look at that breakfast. Yeah.
And you want me to say something anyhow. There's some of the things when you're finished eating heavy breakfast, then when you can't help you, then you try to exercise me because I have not had the privilege to eat breakfast in his house, and so all three of you get together, then it's difficult to deal with it, you know. And I know
that's the Loma Queen there that prepare our breakfast.
Yeah. That was I come and go to Minnesota too.
No.
I'm stopping. I'm driving. I mean, flying from Minnesota. So I would take a few hours to go over there.
They don't have space. The girl told me, said that a lot of man work can always my hidden fame people. I don't want. They don't want you there, so don't go there, please. They not need you until you can change code. But on a serious note, I mean, this weekend sort of edified our relationship as a team. The openness that is involved. I mean, we had a great. I can't tell you all what we did because you're just going to be flipping all your. But it was good, you know. Besides just the interface of being doing, at least we were able to meet for the first time, and we still all. I mean, and the play was cool.
That's Minnesota.
I was sleeping.
Thousand Lake.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible, but it was good though. It was good. Okay, and the OLM met the government of Liberia delegation. This is a position statement. I've been very exhausted. We're going to work on it and have it published as well on our official website. And the government delegations, I think the conversation was very cordial. They came more or less to listen. The minister was very, very much clear on that. They took note. They also realized the hasty decision where it came from, but they also admitted that it's not because of funding. The guy that is there, everything he's been doing there, the government is not spending anything, but they claim that they were trying to transition. But as to how that transition process took place, in the context in which it took place, I think they realized. Mr. Jackson also explained his side as a consulate person there, his experience when he visited Liberia, coming how he was taken down from the plane, bringing passports, but I pushed the minister, but of course I they don't know what happened, but a lot is going on. But the bottom line, the conversation was held to what is important after 3 months, what next. So we will keep following up the conversations, our understanding they have left, and let's see what government going to come. Okay, let's come to today's news. I did monitor the president's address, but to admit, the food that I ate up there, it was still driving me crazy, and so I passed out. Over 3 hours. That was, I don't know why they did that speech the way they did it. I'm not sure whether it was that helpful. They should have kind of like condensed this and be very strategic so that the president would get his message out. I don't know. Do you had a chance to listen to everything? I know the president said something.
I think the speech.
I'm still trying to go through it. I don't want to make a complete judgment out of it in terms of everything has to be checked and it is fine.
Mr. So this is not out of ordinary stuff. This is the speech. Toba then used a good speech for 3-4 hours, so no different. I have a speech here for Toba that went on for almost 3.5 hours. What
is embedded in the speech?
What they try to do, at least I've not gone through all of this yet, and so I think the president tried to lay out from just little glancing at it, because I didn't have the privilege to watch the live audio today. I mean live feed today. So I think most likely what was happening was the president tried to include all of the agency, all of the ministries, their accomplishment, and all of the new laws that affect people based on and how the administration, the executive, what was some of the things they were doing to implement those laws and things they were doing to affect changes in Liberia, positive changes in Liberia. So the president was taking his turn. You heard from the very start. I won't put that in the speech, but let me read something to you quickly, Mr. So I won't put that in the, if I were the one writing, of course I don't know how to write, but I most likely would not put this in the speech, because I will ask Samson to will make a big deal out of this one. He said, I came before you, through blah blah. This year has a very special meaning for me. It's marked my 6th and final State of the Nation address to this humble body for the term of presidency to which I have been elected. So if I was the one writing it, somehow in this paragraph, I would have tried to insert certain phrases or certain language to say I'm not done yet. But when you make this kinds of definitive statement, that was something. But basically, I think they, besides being haggled by the Honorable Yeka Kolubat, I thought that was the speech itself. The president being gracious enough to continue to say thank you, and nobody haul Yeka. I mean, democracy is just sweet, man. You can't do what Yeka Kolubat was doing today. If this had happened in Tower, they're going to drag him out. But this is, as much as I want this president to be one term, I have to give it to him. He allowed all of us to criticize him publicly. And other people go as far as insulting him publicly. But yet still, he continued to do what he's doing, even though I don't agree with many of the things he's doing. I think he's failing completely. But that aspect of life, when it comes to Liberia, I really, really do appreciate that. And that's something that until the election is over, that's something that I'm going to highlight anytime I have the opportunity, that the freedom in Liberia that we enjoy. Many other West African countries don't have that kind of opportunity and do not enjoy that kind of freedom. In many of these West African you couldn't have done this thing in Togo. You couldn't have done this kind of thing in Ghana. For you to have a president on the floor of getting ready, and then you heckle the president. But only something that you would do here in the United States. And the fact that you're serving in the House of Representatives or in the legislature, they allow you, the law, the Constitution provide for you to do that. And I think the president and his security apparatus, I applaud them to them. No question, I think this was one of the shining moments of his presidency. The fact that he has been miserably failing in terms of policy and whatever thing. But this one, the president was if you hadn't said anything, the fact that you were Heko and Yaka Koluba were able to sit and listen at Liberia were on the map. This is wonderful, wonderful.
Do you think that was something that he saw coming, for which he exercised political tolerance? Do you think there was some sort of
Mr. So I will not characterize it as being political tolerant or what have you. This was, and I'm in as much as I've criticized this president from head to toe, but we must be sincere and we must be frank and we must. So let me praise the president a little bit.
Hold on one second. I know you will be thinking, for some reason, I didn't even send a link out to all of the analysts.
Well, that's not my problem. That's not my job. That's your job. You're getting paid for it. So if you didn't do your work, we're going to have to. Now it's time for me to criticize you. But let me praise the president a little bit. While you're hanging around trying to fiddle around with sending link to the central right and everybody else, let me praise the president. I thought the president, I have not listened to the speech. I have not had the opportunity to read it. But just by me seeing Yaka Koluba, just that one incident, and the president keeps saying, thank you. He didn't miss the beat. He didn't even say, okay, let him talk. Let me go sit down. When the man finish, I will come back. He didn't do that. This is the mark of democracy at its highest, except I would say the president continued to fail. But in this particular time, oh, President, where are you? They're wonderful. I don't even listen to the speech, but my man, you do it today. The democracy in Liberia, you shine it bell, you shine it big time. Thank you.
Hold on. I think that Zion Grove Baptist Church here this evening. Folks, I'm so sorry. I just sent the link out. I didn't even send this guy here. I think everybody needs to have an asset to avoid sending link and all of that here. Yeah, but I sent it out, Dr. Toto, Amos George, Koto Balayant, and all of that. So, and one thing I've been looking for, something that is lacking, and I talked to a former government official. Okay, I think Sissy is here. For some reason, I don't know, it just slipped out of my mind, and you just get inside. Okay, Mr. Goya, good evening. My apology, I got taken away, and for whatever reason, I'm still suffering from the aftermath.
The stayed there, turning your eyes. You couldn't see. You left your glasses somewhere.
Mr. Toe made you to forget. I forgive you.
No, I beg you, I forgive friend your guy. I'm part of it. I beg you, take my name from it.
He jealous. I told him I was coming. Jealous. Okay, Sister Ty, good evening.
But let me ask you, when you're eating, you guys ever make little mistake by calling my niece? So I need the rice and
while we're eating, every spoon we talk, we're gossiping about you and eating.
Okay. At least the rice themselves, they hear my name that good.
All right. Hey, look, Sister, good to have you here. And I was just talking. It was great meeting you. I think this relationship, in terms of what we all intend to give back to the country, has been edified in a very unique way. We've been interfacing, but meeting for the first time, and the reception overall, man, it's amazing. I mean, we're in a dangerous world today. You meet people and just allow somebody in your home, not just meeting on the surface. That's something. But and I met your family. Oh man, the Lawman Jew, man, she was on fire when I got there. For a little bit hesitant. Earlier you were asking, I said, what the God I was here? I want to hear you going back.
But I told you once you made friends, y'all are gonna be stuck together. But by the way, the wife was not happy. She got up early in the morning trying to prepare breakfast. I was still asleep. And I get out, I said, what am I doing here? Because you know, I was sleeping in the couch trying to wake you up. So when you left, I went to bed. And so she comes down trying to make breakfast. So I come down, see this hell of a food. I said, who are you doing? He said, oh, where your friend go waking up? I said, you better call that man.
I regretted. Are you not even woke me up? Believe me, you won't believe what happens to me.
I say, let me ask you: we having show or we having breakfast? Say how's it again tonight?
Well, that's part of our conversation.
Let me extend invitation to the liberal because he's
I'm not going there.
You don't even call anybody, and then you come here now to come discuss where you eat, where you eat. Man, you don't do what kind of thing, man.
But it was a great time. Look, I really want to please extend my greetings. That's how we travel. Sometimes we go over the weekend and we just on with day camp break. Then I wish I was still there to eat something because you won't believe what happened to me. I don't want to say that yet before this guy start running with A here, but you won't believe. Okay, good evening, welcome. Look, I listened to a greater portion of it, and I just do not want to come to a conclusion with respect to the president's State of Union today. But what I've been doing, try to peruse even the executive mansion, I'm looking at it, and the one thing that is lacking, I saw that even from the Doe and other people, usually after these sort of high-profile measures, the EPSA comes out, they kind of like give it to give people a sense of what the message to the country. That has not happened. That should be the work of the new agency, and what they do usually, because people who will profile the presidency, they will look at it and they will do the excerpts right after that. Even the top of time, all of the major cable network, print, electronic media, they will get it because then that becomes a central talking point. Dr. Toto, good evening, welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, but that's not happening. So it takes time to say 3 hours, and because it needs to be transcribed, condensed, and then get to the essence. Here we are, we have the liberal now, who is in multiple places. Every other day we come on this network now. He's hallelujah, he's clapping, he's jumping. But trust me, before the end of this program, he will flip on the other side. But for what we know now, we're going to see, hopefully, maybe everybody's still going through it. It will be unfair for us to say this is what. But let's just get people pick here. Do you have a chance to kind of grab some sense of it? Sissy?
Well, I listened to a large portion of it. I was trying to listen while teaching, so I have my stuff in my ear. Now I'm gonna get my boss is gonna be calling me in, but yeah, I listened to a greater portion of it, and 2 points. The points that you all raised earlier. Why it is true that I don't like to give credit to somebody who was a father saying, oh, I can feed my family. Like, that is not a responsibility to say that democracy flourished because the president was tolerant. But in all, I have to say that our democracy is growing. You cannot deny that. But let's also be mindful that this is the same peaceful president that said, hey, anybody in short, not walk the street of Monrovia. But to the extent that they allow people to exercise their rights, I think it's a good thing. It's always a good thing when democracy flourishes, when people's rights are codified, and I appreciate the president and for that. Look, I've been reading a lot of places, and I think people are making much ado about nothing. State of the Union speeches, State of the Nation speeches are meant to be political. And especially if you're giving the speech as the president is in his last speech to this legislature in this term. It's almost like you're giving an acceptance speech at your convention. It is about being political. It is about touting all of the good things you've done. And I think that's what the president did. And I won't fault him for that. And any president who fails to do that will be an idiot. And so he laid out all of the things he sees as the good things that he's done, all of the, he talked about, for example, the stability in the U.S. rate over the last 1 year, going from 150 to 153 and back. And I like that they did that. It was strategic to say in the last 1 year, because, when you can go back to when it was 180 plus and all the other pieces from the onset. So, if I have to be very fair, I'll say the State of the Nation address was good, to the extent that it was meant to try to set the president up to say, here are the things we've done, and here are the good things we've done. It was great. And so I don't want to judge it in any other prism, because that would be unfair. I can't go back and say, how about all the deaths? How come he didn't talk about all of the deaths? How come he didn't talk about all of this?
Who wants to talk about your bag?
Right. That is not what it said. Especially the last State of the Union you give him before going into election. It is a political. It is a time for politics, and that's the reason you saw Yaka Kuluba heckling the president, because it's all political. At this point, we are all going into elections. And so I think the president did himself good. I think he did him and the CDC good by touting the things that he thinks are good things that they've done over the last years. Now, when we get to politics, do we think those things are enough to get reelected? That's where we're going to differ. But if I were advising my president, that's exactly what I would have told him to do, is tout what are those things that are going to get you reelected.
I think that's a very critical point. Nobody wants to dig their own dirt when you are in a consequential and your coalition seems to be falling apart, and you say, I listened to some of the soundbite from the opposition side, and I talk about the people that who does that, who want to do that. So you've been into it here. Let me bring in the Mojat progressive folks from his supporter, Tiawan Gonglos. Proxy the affairs of Councilor Tiawan Gonglo and said you were given the response to the president nation. Our man, where is Jennington Dolake? Where is, do we need to play SOS to Dolake?
Yeah, Jennington, I spoke to Jennington Webb, I think 2 days ago. She said that she said that Ambassador others why Jennington don't come, maybe he tired, he rested.
Or is he working on Cummings' response tomorrow? Because Cummings, you're going to be coming to the microphone with you.
No, he's in charge. He's in charge of the investigation on the 70 case. So he's working very hard. I'll keep poking him until he can.
He will soon throw a message in the chat here. Okay, Dr. Toto, let me bring you in here. Auto are beating on the president. My only concern here is, and legendary Samuel Abu from Mr. Councilor, and that's what he was saying. After everything by that time, this is where sometimes the folks that I run, and Solo Kebe, I had a conversation with him before. I don't understand for whatever reason, because by the time that president left the podium, prior to that, they should, they don't understand this whole thing here. It's a big deal. By now, the Labyrinth New Agency, which is almost, we can say, equivalent to Al Jazeera or the major cable network, there should be a script to that president, and immediately, and even before that, if they get sense, they send it out to people. Forget what are people going to talk about it or not, but send it out so it will become a talking point. We have seen that here. Media will begin to play it. The president will be saying this, the president will be saying, up to that point in time, nothing is being transcribed. The essence of the president's speech is not on even the official website of the executive mansion. That's just they're not treating the president right. And I don't know why people are not addressing here. But let me get your sense here. With I know people still going to be reviewing it. I'm waiting to see the opposition's reaction as well. But you also says a point here. Do you differ with him?
Not at all, but somehow or in some maybe in different dimension. I read a speak like you said. When it's something that we are saying over and over. When it comes to the PR arm of the government, is very weak. How they disseminate that information. And one of the things that they brought in, I think, Tony Smith from OKF to go there some time ago to see how better to improve the system. But it seems to be that we helping the system. Look at the U.S. or by the State of the Union address will become on next week, up to the people are not discussing it. You see the Vera media arm, they're discussing about State of the Union address that be delivered next week. So the same thing come to Liberia. When it comes to President Weah, State of the Union, I must say I have to look for it today. I couldn't find an executive management website or World Front Page Africa, to take it from there and have to read it, And I went through some of the key things that caught my attention, I don't want to be more negative or critical or whatsoever, but that certain thing, first of all, you look at the time of the speech, very long. Some of the things I saw that rather make it long was that the president is talking about things that took place in 2019, bringing it back to present reality. And the State of the Union address meeting is supposed to be your 1 year, under your 1 year period or review. And, what are some of the new things, or do you not focus on the negative, but what are some of the things that on a 1 year period of review want to see? That have been done successfully, maybe up to 75% want to see this thing. But the president talking about stuff that took place in 2019, 2018, 18. And one of the things I also see in that speech, I think there's a kind of structuring problem too. I get lost sometimes. Senator, the president will be referring to Madam Vice President. Senator, you go to Mr. Speaker. So I don't know who you really addressing. I don't know who you really addressing in chamber. Is it the Speaker or the Vice President? For me, I think the Speaker is the highest person in authority, right there. But he keep to be jumping around, and all the things it helped to kill the momentum.
It takes away the attention. Is that what
it take away, it killed the momentum of the speech when it comes to structuring problem. Even we that do, if you go through research, I think if you go through quantitative research, and also you're not going to just read the whole stuff. We have what they call senators in the research. Just scroll down, you take one of the most important things you want to take and move around and move with it. And so when we come to the type of speech, and you see what are the structural problems, it killed your momentum to even go deeper. But other than that, one key to the president said also to that caught my attention onto when kind of the inflation rate. I think they said that they are reducing inflation to single digits from 30% to 7%. That's a huge gap. If we see the reality of it, well, then that's good. And then another thing also, he contradicted himself when it comes to the harmonization of pay. He did talk about it also, but look at the GSA report that came a few days ago. It really destroyed that whole harmonization process. It says that it is a failure of the government. And the president keep wanting to talk to press it in his State of the Nation address. So that's a huge, big contradiction. So I'm waiting for the opposition side to see what they can come up with. It will be very interesting. But
just what we're talking here, this is veteran journalist, and I went also because let's pick up some points from our onliners as well to make them to be part of a Samuel Abu, former minister counselor here at Journal. He said the speech was launched when the people were no longer listening to the last paragraph, and it was when he was bringing out his major trumps.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he's saying. And Sissy, do you agree with Dr. Toto, or is he just taking that opposition to line here, or he's taking that realistic approach to analyze the president's speech?
Well, so if Tiawan Gonglo were given a reaction to the speech, that would be my analysis, right? But your question you asked me was the way I saw the speech, and I was trying to see it in the eyes of the president and his team, because when you go out there, that is what you're going to tout. You're going to talk about like what Mr. Abu talked about. I would have felt that those things would have been in the beginning, but they used the beginning to build out a whole lot of fluff, and then when he got to the substance, it was late in the game. And even at one point in time, just for being able to pronounce words, people were clapping, and for me that bothered me. But one of the things I think, though, that they didn't do well for the president was that the PAPD talks about lifting people out of poverty, and they had said that nobody was going to make below $100. But if you listen to the president's speech, you talk about that when the harmonization took place, about 7,000 people dropped below there, and he raised about what? Another however many thousand, came around 23,000 total together. And I felt like when you're talking or you touting your economic powers and you're talking about the reduction in inflation rate, like Dr. Tutu talked about, and you talk about the stability of the U.S. Exchange against the Liberian dollar. Whoever wrote that speech, I think they did the president a disservice by allowing that to be put in there, because that takes away from the PAPD, the major core of the PAPD. But again, the question was about how did I see it, and I was reacting that and I have to be fair to the president, that if this were my president, this is exactly what I'm going to say. I mean, it would have been shorter. The speech would have been shorter, and we would have just gone with a lot of heavy hitters. And we weren't going to be very deliberative or elaborative about it. We're just going to tell you, this is what we've done, this is what we've done, this is what we've done, this is what we've done. Left with you to go do your research, but those will be sound bites. And to the bigger point, though, that all of you have been stressing, this is what we've said here over and over, that love him or hate him, his group, the president, the group around him for media has not been doing him any favors. Everything from his travels, out of the country, when Eugene Nangbe was serving as de facto information minister, and they were reacting to news instead of being kind of proactive. It's what they did to this president. They're not serving him right. And ELBC, for God's sake, is the government station. I would have felt like, the likes of Samuel Twell, the like of Eugene Nangbe, or the like of the Minister of Information will be gathered there and say, look, listen to the president. He's going to talk about how we're taking people out of poverty. He's going to talk about his housing plan. Listen to the president. We're going to talk about how we build hospitals, how we build the Emirate Hospital. Listen to the president. We're going to talk about how we managed to make education free. He's going to talk about how he's empowered people by free education. You don't have to say the entire thing the president is going to say.
Exactly.
You can start putting things out there. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. And so everybody was listening to the president to hear for the first time everything. And that puts a lot of pressure on the president. Had they gone ahead and released some of those pressure by at least talking about some of those things the president is going to talk about, I don't think this speech could have been 3 hours, and I don't think it would have had as much pressure as they had on the president. So I think they didn't serve the president well at all.
Okay, let me bring in the Liberia, but before that, let's welcome our man Prince J. Count, Visa people following. He says, hi, good morning. My name is INDJ Prince Manabo. I followed your live broadcast from my Bananve Junction Shoe Factory community. Victory for my president. Prince, thank you so much for being awake this sort of morning hour to listen to. We welcome any views and opinion. And it speaks to the point what you were talking. Even though I assume my guest here, Prince, was not in the joint chamber section when the president was delivering his speech, but Prince said, victory to President Weah. Meaning, whatever we talk here, Prince has already made his decision and many other. The Liberal, you listen to your progressive colleague. He seems to distance from you in your first analysis. Fair or unfair?
Oh, I'm not going to sit here and judge the fairness of whatever statement any other person makes. I'm just making my own, and I appreciate that we're here to disagree with each other. I mean, sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. That's what makes this show wonderful, and we respect each other's views. That I can say. But let me say this here. Let me say quickly, Mr. So. Again, when you're talking about the media arms of this government, which they have none. Like it or not, hate him or Eugene Falcon used to be someone that perhaps will be blowing the horn after this. He's no longer there. Do you see Segu Calasto posting anything right now, singing and dancing? No. What's about the mouthpiece of the president media group here in the United States? Do you think they would take off time for work and spend at least 1 or 2 hours analyzing this thing, making a hell out of this thing here? No. And they pay them huge sums of money, but they are not able to produce. That's the difference. Now, let me go out to say that, Mr. So, in terms, I'm old enough to know that those days, President Tubber will get on stage and he will speak for 3 hours, 3.5 hours, And in most of the speeches that President Tubber would give those days, he tried to incorporate as I stated earlier, all of the ministry that are on the executive or the agency, what are some of the accomplishment of each of the agencies? In fact, I'm quite aware of it because I was working at the Ministry of Education, where my mom, who was then, when I say mom, I mean she's my not my biological mom, but my mom, who was then Dr. Bertha Baker's uncle, who was the Deputy Minister for Planning and Research at Minister of Education. She would put her own stuff together. Honorable Christine Norman, who was then also Deputy Minister for Instruction, will also put her stuff together, and they will combine all of the ministry stuff. I mean, deputies will put their thing together, pass it on to the minister, and they condense it and pass it on to the president. And of course, those things will be mentioned in succession. So perhaps the president tried to do that here, but then again, this is time after war. Liberians, their ability to sit still after certain time, even in churches, after certain time, they're gone. They are not with you. And I think the president should be able to stay with that. And that kinds of speech to be that long. But then again, this is what they want to do. I still praise the president.
Mm-hmm.
Today, the reason why I'm so ecstatic about his speech today, not the content of the speech itself, because I'm reading, I'm just really going through them little by little, now reading some of the wording that was used here. Those are nothing that I will put in the kind of stuff, but then that's their problem. So I'm not considering the content, but his behavior specifically with Honorable Kaluba,
so where is
the president.
Not the content. Where is your priority? What actually you are listening up to?
Mr. So?
I'm just asking.
Mr. So, the liberal is speaking. You have to give the liberal, when the two gentlemen were speaking, you didn't come in with your journalistic questioning and things like that. When the liberal is speaking, now you want to be a journalist. When the people are speaking, all you are talking about how it's Kisali in Sese House, that all you are thinking about. Now I'm speaking, you're coming to be a journalist now. Mr. So let me speak my mind, please. Just the point here is I'm going to deal with the contents later on a serious note. The content is going to be discussed later. But what I really appreciate is the president standing there and Yaka Koluba live in the eyes of the world. Yaka Koluba, heckling the president. And the president keeps saying, thank you. He didn't go and take a seat. He didn't go and take a seat. So, okay, when the man finished, you're coming back. He didn't do that. He stood there. Not only the form of respect to democracy, but to allow that to happen. That would not have happened in Egypt. He would have been dragged off, and most likely you won't hear from me again. That would not have happened in Jordan. That would not have happened in Morocco. That would not have happened in many of the countries that consider themselves democracy. That is the pleasure that I'm truly getting out of this speech. Just that one segment. Everything else, I will deal with it later. But for the president of the Republic of Liberia to stand there and let somebody from the legislature to heckle in the house. He's a visitor. Traditionally, you don't do that when people come to your house. But for the president to go down there, and then he didn't take it as being machine, as our people are not machine. No. He took it as, look, this is the form of democracy that we Liberians selected, that we Liberians want to celebrate. So let him speak. Let him say whatever he want to say. He keeps saying, thank you. The only person who tried to interrupt Yaka Kolba was great. But it didn't shake Yaka Kolba either. So when you look at the thing from its totality, Mr. So, I think the speech, like I said, I will discuss the content later, but just the uptick of what happened from the beginning, I think that to show on a very serious note that the days of Liberia is way ahead, because his children will look at this thing what happened today and make reference to it. Young Liberians, when they get to take the leadership of Liberia, will make reference to what happened today. Because if you come to the legislature, somebody heckle you and you say, I want our president out, I don't want to see you again, they will tell you, go and watch President Weah's speech, the last speech in 2020, beginning 2023. So for me, Mr. So, that's the most thing I take out of. But let me just say this now. On the side, on the contents of it, I think, first of all, I agree with all my brothers that the speech itself is long, but I'm not surprised about that because I'm used to having people, like I said, we Liberians used to the kinds of stuff. Now, the thing is, the speech is long, but what is in it? What is in it? Yes, there's another interesting thing here. When the president mentioned something about harmonization, I thought these people sometimes they can do some wicked thing to the president. You mean you didn't see front page Africa article? Front page article put in about the auditors.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna, in a mix of that, then you're gonna let the president, even if the front page Africa news just come out when you finish writing, yeah, Mr. President, bring it, and you red line those, don't say that one, don't say that one, because they already damaged it. The front page Africa article. It's so damaging to this president. And then you're gonna come like, though we're so stupid. You're gonna come and say, we did this. Samuel 12. How Samuel 12? I'll tell the president, don't say this one yet. But they didn't do that.
Okay, talking
this
about
again, a CDC, they always putting their foot in their mouth. When they do something good, you praise them. 1 minute you got to condemn them because that's who they are. They don't like to be praised. They don't like to do something good and say, I will stay with it. They're always putting their foot in their mouths. But that CDC we know.
All right. Let's keep it as brief as possible. We can't, so we can have a conversation. I was speaking with a former senior government official and who is a good writer involved in writing presidents' speeches and all of that. I was told, like in the case of Tobo, I don't know for sure what is going on with this president. That I want to be straightforward with that. As usually, the president also, when the speech writers, when they are done, he too take a red line and begin to cross out thing and put here, and he eventually finalize it in that he's making it import. I'm just breaking the point based on what the Liberal is saying here. And say I can bring you in. Do you think with all of this, do you think the president himself was directly involved into this this annual to say, hey, this is my idea? Because I think that's the best way to go to, because you want to know he eventually going to be mounted at the podium. He knows things that he's been doing. In as much these supporters or the ministers, and it's good that this speech comes from all sectors of government, and I kind of condense it to say, this is what we have achieved. This is what we can boast about. Do you think the president took up time to do some stuff and say, hey, you guys can put this here? Or was it something that was just thrown at the president?
See, so I'm going to say something that is going to get me in trouble.
They got in trouble.
Look.
But a good trouble, that is.
It is going to be good trouble. I am not one of those in opposition that thinks lowly about the president's academic abilities. The president has a master's degree from Keller School of Graduate at DeVry. The president might not have the oratory skills at his hands, but I can't believe that a George Weah who ran Lone Star, who's been around, would not at least have an input in the speech is going to be. Well, I don't believe that. I actually do believe that the president is being heavily involved in what he wants to say. Now, he might not maybe use the technical jargon to say, let's talk about, this and that, but he would say, let's talk about, healthcare, for example. We build hospital. I talk about a hospital. We've done this. So I really do believe that the president has the competence, and I think he's been involved with crafting these speeches. But here's the thing, though. There is no one person who knows everything about every sector of the republic. And so he appoints people who will be experts in those fields, and he relies on them. So if he's talking about the economy and monetary policy and stuff, we expect him to rely on Samuel Twe. If he's talking about, agriculture, we expect him to rely on the experts from the agricultural ministry and from CARI, right? And so for me, I don't want to be one of those people that say somebody just give the president something and the president just went to and read it. That would be disrespect to the man. And I don't want to say that. So I think also when we say that, we cheapen the conversation. We make it look like somebody else is running the government, and it was President Weah whose picture was on the ballot, and he's the person that got elected. So, but I do agree with the Liberal though, that there have been people even in developed countries that have given some speeches, and sometimes we as supporters look at it and say, that should not have been over there at all. The issue about harmonization, the president could have still talked about that without calling it harmonization. He could have still said, look, we understood that there were growing pains, there were economic pains that we had to go through, because he's already talked about the fact that he took a broken economy, right? That was his thing. So we took a broken economy, and so everybody had to tighten their belts. We had to do some tough things that otherwise we would not have to do if we had a better economy handing down to us. And so we had to do that. Everybody had to sacrifice. Thank you, my people. Thank you for all of you who sacrificed economically, who understood that we all have to have a skin in the game to lift our economy up. That would have been simple without going into, how many people drop below, how many people you lifted up, and we know it very well that goes against the PAPD. But again, that brings me back to, I cannot fault the president alone for that. I have to also fault the people who he brought around him to be his advisors that are experts in this field. They should have understood that. They should have read what was out there already in the media, and they should have, made a quick about turn and taken some of those things out. And for me, that's what I talk about, that the people around the president are not serving the president right. And even if this were my guy, Tier 1, I would say the same thing. If the people around you that you bring and you're supposed to trust and you expect them to serve you are not serving you right, that becomes a problem.
Dr. Toto?
Yeah, to point out what say, I can recall when our chairman for EULA, when Vama Fofana was president, and we received a communication from the embassy, from the Liberian embassy in DC. And when the time they later with the ambassador, Dr. Brutus, she was I mean, I call her name correct, but I think she was the ambassador at that time. And then she reached out to her. She said, Madam President will be delivering you or important message to Liberian people. I think if I'm not mistaken, the State of the Nation address, and she want to know if we have anything for the diaspora, that she can put in her speech. So Vama reached out to me, to read the message to me. Why can we put together to send to the embassy so they can incorporate in the president's speech? So what I'm trying to say that, so when it comes to President Weah's speech also too, I don't think President Weah is just left in the loop by himself. I think he have a team of competent people that write his speech. He may not draw the red line as President Toba used to do, but I think they said to him and they tell him, Mr. President, this is the key issue that happened in the nation, and we're going to write a speech based upon this thing here. And I show President Weah will give an input on it. When it comes to his limitation, we know the president already expressed a limitation already. So I don't want for the opposition to come out to buttress the president's end of the new address to come and say, the president can read like a third grade child or fifth grade child. I don't want for the opposition to go in that direction. We all know the president has certain limitation. So it should not be the point of discussing this end of the union address for them. They have to look at the source end of the message in that speech, what they can take from that to opposition to run their way. When the Liberal was saying, I would say, when it comes to the harmonization and front page, those are big contradictions. Those are things they can take and run with it, but they shouldn't come and condemn the president, or the president can read like a third grade child, or the president lack of education. So I think it's just going to take it away from them also too.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point that you strike. We have seen here in modern society, like here, when Republicans are even given, you see, and that's a very critical point here. I'm waiting to see Cummings going to be speaking tomorrow. I saw a post from the director of communications, our own guy, Desmond Nimland, that the president, the Cummings, is going to be speaking. I'm waiting to see if Ambassador Boyka, I don't know whether he's still here, going to be speaking, and your own guy, Councilor Tier 1 Gonglot, because more or less they are all moving independently in this whole fight to to occupy the higher office of the land. So let's do it. We're going to make it proportional here, and we're going to be moving back and forth here. If the opposition, like you said, Dr. Toto, if the opposition fail to take a holistic and address some of the issues and point out some of the pitfalls of the president's annual. Oh, the line is already buzzing here. Let me go to this.
Let's I don't think that will call off.
Yeah. Okay. 410 number 8490. Caller, good evening. What's your name and where you calling from? Are you there, caller? Oh, you call, you run away. Okay. So if the opposition fails to do that, what will your disappointment coming? Because they also get a tendency of just looking at one aspect and just draw a complete red line, everything about this government bad. If they did that, are they doing themselves good? If they can't even come to a mate, there are some challenges, there are some good ones, and there are some bad ones. But if you just go into it, and I know it's politics, politics, especially with the election here. So I don't know whether they want to talk about the good of the president here, but if they were to be honest with the Liberian people, is that something you can afford your guy to do?
I will probably say no and yes. This is like Cecil was saying, this speech is political. This is the political season we're in. And this is the last year of the president. And the opposition need to capitalize on the weakness of the president, especially in his speech, to make the case to the Liberian people. And that's why the opposition message. That's why the president also, if you look at that speech, the president not bring any negative in that speech to kind of debate his leadership. To him, he was focused on the positive of it. That's why he put in that speech. But it has also to some negative also too. So the opposition to the focus on the local side of the president and run away and make a case like Brooklyn because this is the political season. There's nobody to sugarcoat it. If the president talk about inflation have been reduced to 7%, from 30% to 7%, without local verification in that speech, what the mechanism they use to reduce it to 30% to 7%, that's a huge something. So the opposition to try to draw a political statement again, such a statement to be able to run away.
Okay, let me see here. Caller, good evening. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit much louder? Let me check my system too. Are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Why is it? Hold on one second. Hold on. Let me see what I hope something too is not in my system. Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let's see.
All right, good. Thank you. This is Willie Cowboy. I call you.
I don't know why you're sounding low. Something not right here. Oh, hold on one second. Let me see here. Yeah. Okay. Are you there now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. My fault. The Samson tool was in my system. Wonderful. He's the Russian Lpr guy. Yeah. Okay. So, sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh no. Thank you very much. This is Willie calling from Georgia. Greetings to all of the panelists, especially Senior Brother Dr. Toto and my cousin Cecil. I just want to make a comment to the question asked if the president actually did that. He actually went through his speech. I want to be honest that I don't think so. I'm not here to denigrate the president on how eloquent he is. I mean, you can go to school. From the record that he has a master's, so you can go to school. Everyone goes to school, but not everyone is more fluent. So that is not my point. But from what I saw today, just an example that during his speech, he got to a certain point when he was talking about infrastructure development in the various counties, and then he said, like Samuel wrote something that perhaps he didn't expect that to be his speech. So if he actually went over his speech, I don't think that point would have been surprising to him. So I just wanted to make that point. Sorry,
no, that's okay. Maybe she herself want to, she or he want to make her own point too.
no, my little guys right here. Yeah, but thank you very much. I'm following the show. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, so that was your only observation as far as you are concerned.
I mean,
what do you think? Let's
this
pretend,
was-
regardless about your own political position here, what else do you you have expected to have been embedded into that president's speech, if you will?
I think the president will have, making his speech more direct to the Liberian people than, attending OAU summit and, just cycling all around the places and everything. And like one of the panelists said that, what happened at the various, some of the achievements at various government agencies, talk about, like revitalizing some of the bureaus, like for example, Fire Service Bureau, and talking about some of the issues that citizens, have, like all of the killings, I wouldn't want to say mass killings, but concerns that citizens have. I mean, those were not highlighted in his speech, but you are only talking about places he traveled and just talking about achievement. And it was a campaign speech. I would say pretty much it was like a campaign speech, and you had people there, just keep cheering, jumping up and down, cheering. I mean, it was more comical, to be honest with you.
All right. But bear in mind, they got some of their people there to show their political strength. Yes, Prince Johnson is going. MPP is trying to get away, but we still have folks here, so they got to solidify their political base. All right, my man. Thank you so much.
To be honest with you, of recent Liberian politics is just funny. So yeah, until we can get a little more closer, then you can know where everyone stands. But at this time, a lot of people are on the fence.
Let me poke you here. We all as take kids. Have you arrived at a standing as to the directions of your country? Have you decided politically? You as a Liberian, if you were to tell me.
Yeah. So being honest with you, if there's any opportunity, but I know right now at this point, I don't see it happening just at this time. But if you can have Gongo and what's the name, JMB doing a merger, I think it's just a one-time straight knockout. But I don't see I'm not saying that it cannot happen, but at this point, I don't see it happening. But I mean, pretty much, I have interest in the two of them. Jaron Gonglu, I mean, from his record, his track record, and also JMB from his track record. I'm interested in those two. The rest of them, forget it. Look, I don't want to go naming names, okay? What's the guy's name? The Coca-Cola guy. Even in the state of Georgia, that he spent his entire time in Georgia. When he comes to Georgia, who knows that he's in Georgia? And when he was head of Coca-Cola, what did he do for Liberia? It was only when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf invited him to Liberia and honored him, that's when everyone knew Cummings. But who got a new Cummings in Liberia? Nothing. So,
Mr. So, I was a little bit jealous that this young man didn't call my name, but since he come out with Coca-Cola, I'm glad he didn't call my name.
The Liberal said you didn't call his candidate name, Ambassador Boyka.
No, that's not what I said. I said at first I was jealous when he called Sissy and Dr. Tutu and you. He didn't call my name. I was jealous. But the fact that he would come here and call Coca-Cola, don't call my name. I'm glad he didn't call my name.
I'm sorry, I didn't pick up your name. But no, but Dr. Tutu and myself, we far and long, and then Sissy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Sissy for this team is my cousin, so.
Yeah, all right. Find your own cousin from Total, and then we'll call your name. Thank you, my man. Don't mind that, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you so much for the program.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, it's our own Kotot Balayan is
Kotot,
good evening. Welcome. I will be bringing you in here. Let's hear from this other caller here, 610 number 9473. Good evening, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, good evening, comrade. How are you?
Good.
This is Sam Abu.
Hey. The legendary himself.
We still got other people talking.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear you. You are
so what is it? What is actually is that the speech was very long-winded, as I've stated earlier, to the point that they forgot to know that the president is not used to doing long things. I mean, long reading. And apart from that, the content of the speech was more of economic. Tuer wrote his portion of this. Maybe he was the major writer of the speech. So therefore, he put more things there about what IMF did, how they brought this money, how much they have saved from it, and what they would not see the impact. When the president came further to also talk about schools, WASP payment of tuition, we needed to know some statistics. That at the time before he came in, only 10 students passed national exam. But now, because they have brought WASP in, students are passing at this level. Because I remember the WASP people, the West Africa Examination Council was talking about it before. Those are the statistics that should really make, because I got some speeches there of Tobo and Topman, which I normally like to read. And then the health. You have built several hospitals. What is the impact? Has it stopped people from getting malaria? Has it reduced the malaria spell in the community? No major diseases are coming, but we still go back to Ebola. We still go back to how they call the sickness, to COVID, what we did there and what we did there. That's all a long story. Let's talk about the main impact of this, the little diseases that we'll never be able to clear. The same way with the roads. All the roads, we say when he came into power, there were only 650 or 750 kilometers of paved road in Liberia. But during his 5-year term, he has put in another 600 plus, and we have more than 1,300 kilometers of this. That is questionable. And apart from that, in stating that many of the roads, he will say in the end, they are ongoing. They are ongoing. They are ongoing. So it means that they are not completed to even reach to the 1,300. Now, let's come to the public relation aspect. I think they kept this speech so tight. I think it was because of this speech that Tue had to leave his hospital bay to come to make sure he provided information and be part of it. They kept the speech so tight to the point that Front Page Africa was able to grab it and get a scoop until I think tonight, Front Page Africa already got it on their front pages all over. Tomorrow morning, you will not see New Liberia coming out with it. Okay, because just as Brother Tu has said earlier, when some of us used to be in government public relations, this speech you'll be the first to grab it before the president even deliver it. Right. And you guys have already taken the major points out. Even after that, when they go for when the people are going for their dinner, the major editors are not going for that dinner. The reporters will remain there, maybe just to pick up side pieces from people who attend the dinner, just to hear what you say about this president's speech. What about this? What about this? What are they going to be talking about? But the main speech, the main juice in the speech was going to be on the front pages of the government newspaper tomorrow morning. And at the same time, EFBC will write several stories. If I'm an editor, I take 5 of my best people and tell them, write a story from me. You take it from this angle, you grab it from this angle, you grab it from this angle. So the entire 15 minutes or 30 minutes news, about 80% of it will be pushed onto that particular speech, But I don't know what is happening in the government information sharing thing. I want to take this opportunity. Somebody mentioned Carrasco earlier. Carrasco likes to put a president picture on newspaper. He likes to put it on social media. This is where he's supposed to do his work now if he wants to be a journalist. This is where he's supposed to be doing his job. But he runs away. He runs behind the president either to go eat on the table or to be there with the president just for people to see Carrasco with the president. That's not all to it. Even sometimes as being in public relations with the government, I believe that some of those pictures, some of the stories, he can be acting like he's breaking on the thing. They have some security implications. I think the EPS or so, the EPS, the public relations group of the government, needs to step in, even though I think they're running this government based on proximity. You can be a very important person, but just because you're not in the president's most immediate proximity, your voice is not heard. But they need to do more about the public relations. Today, again, it was highly political. Yeah. The opposition should start looking at those little myths that did not come on. There was some information that were put into that story. They were just overblown, but those are things that we've already heard about a long time ago that you cannot use at this time. If you're using it at this time, you should be very delicate about it. President came from Washington, D.C. 49 days. He came back. There was no press conference to tell the journalists. The journalists were the ones just following up. Government did not come up with anything. Is it today he coming to share the pleasantry? Oh, President Biden told me, you really running the country good. And he said, that's very good. We understand that.
Okay.
But those are things that have already gone in the news and people have spread. Those things have hit they have already hit the main bars of the media. So they were supposed to look at the better way that they should have presented so that it cannot be further criticized as how it was criticized when it was not presented officially.
Thank you so much. Sabo, from the minister.
Let me get record now, Ms. Abu. You know, Ms. Abu taught me junior high way back in Liberia.
Who's that? George Tutu?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you, doctor. My wife, she Morovia, she went on vacation.
Yeah, well,
thank you so much. All right. Legendary Sabo, veteran journalist, thank you for your analysis and contribution chipping in here this evening. Make time for us sometime so we can have this issue here to have it discussed. All right. Okay, let me bring in Koto here. Oh my goodness. Let me bring in Koto here. Guys, we got a whole file with this line here. Koto, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Sese, from my end, and good evening to all of you and the people of Liberia. I'm glad to be here to discuss the issue of Liberia.
To discuss the issue of Liberia, the big thing that in the frying pan here, we're trying to get it out in the pan so hot that ladies always get to know how to handle those stuff here. You had a chance to listen to some portion of the president's speech. In the next minute, we're pivoting the last 30 minutes, so we want to jump to other thing here. But let's give you the opportunity. What's your side? What's your version listening to this so far? What did you capture?
Thank you very much, Mr. So. And to break the camera back, I really want to thank Mr. Abu, Samuel Abu, who really hit the cameras back. And I agree with everybody that his speech was very long. But again, that's the annual message. The only thing is that the way I expected, points to be captured, I didn't see it that way. Maybe because it was too long that I didn't capture some, and it's just today, and have not had a chance to absorb all of it. Probably I may have missed some, portion that people would think that I'm supposed to know. But having said that, there were some points that I thought would have come up, especially like a president giving a speech, it should cover up, all the what he have achieved. I thought that was what, he would have been, saying. But from the outset of this government, what I thought that the stay or I were in and still ongoing is they always have been on the defensive mood, in a campaign mood. And being a political party is different from being a president. Okay, being a president, you are the president of a nation. Your message should be covering the people, the interests of the people, not to satisfy a particular person or a particular group interest. Like what Abu said, when you come here as a president, you're supposed to enumerate, okay, I came into power, I met this, like for road, we had this amount of road made at the time, but here I am, I have captured more than what have been done. Okay, and capture key points. Because when we're talking about road building, we talk about the one that is economically affecting the country. It's not just going to say, okay, let me just build a community road. What impact is that road actually making on the economy? And when it comes to hospital, okay, we talk about hospital building. Okay, I agree. It's very important that hospitals are built, and we want that in it, at least all over the country should be covered by hospitals. But again, we would say we met, for example, JFK was dilapidated. We were able to improve JFK to this standard. And because of that, the income was the income patients were overflooded. And because we could not meet up with that, we have to extend to other areas to extend the support of, to support JFK. We have to build like the military hospital, which I agreed. But again, you cannot have a big hospital at JFK that has not met the need of the people. Then you say, okay, I built a military hospital. And I always, this argument come up, people say, oh, there's the only president who came in Liberia and built a hospital from scratch. Okay, it is not about building the hospital from scratch. It is about how the president have built this hospital. People are not looking at the economic effect it's having on the country. How is it? Let's talk about what the source of support to this government. What contribution is it make? It based, the funds that is coming based on credit, or is economically invested in the country, like bringing on the investment, and based on the investment that the country is having, the product is leading to this investment. And to me, those are the things I really wanted to see in this message that I did not see. Okay.
Already.
Yeah. So I like that he stayed there 2 hours, like people say. And one thing too that Mr. Tu said that I really did not like, even I'm on the opposition. Yeke should not have behaved the way he behaved today, because you, as an honorable person, you should, behave in an honorable way. I did not like that, because I wouldn't like that happen to any president for that matter. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, but as we stay big, because I have some points, but it's just that we can't absorb all at the time. But as we go
down, this speech, trust me, the whole week here, everybody's still going through it as well here. Okay, in the last segment here, if you want to digress, it's up to you. The president mounted a podium. I don't know. I don't know what I shared this. The release from the NPP. Wanting the external burial, to stay away from the nomination. And overall, Prince Johnson, we all know the little scripture or the little descriptions of Saul in the Bible. Now, Prince Johnson now is coming to tell us, courtesy of our sister network. Let's be a little bit illustrative here to our listener, and we can have a little conversation here. Let's bring in this, and then we can have a little talking point.
Me, right?
There are many reasons that will go on and on. My wife, my beautiful wife, uncle, son, grandma, the 2 others were sent for by St. Moses. And allegedly killed them and said they drowned. No investigation. Nothing happened. Princess is from our home. They came up, put a body in our compound. No investigation. Sorry, Jim. I see these things. I do my own security analysis. I've been trained by the West and locally 26 years of training. I see these things. It's too glaring. It's too glaring to say somebody took money and fired himself 3 times. It's too glaring. What will encourage me if I even wanted to sign? Is it money? No. So those who are talking, Prince Johnson is just talking so and they ain't money to laugh. And let me say before I close.
This is, gentlemen, this is quite interesting. That's a certain senator. He works in the government. He's represented. But there seems to be like an indictment in the very government that he works and the people that he supports, because he was very much defended that they killed the EPS guy in his place. Okay, let's take his word face value, what he's saying now. But he's this is the hypocrisy. When things fall apart, when the central can no longer hold, then politicians begin to find their own way. You are not appointed minister of government. You are elected. And he's now telling us the same very government, he should be holding the executive branch of government accountable as well, have the right to subpoena or to bring in the EPS director, the national security, and all of that. He's now telling us today that these people were murdered by the government, went on to name princes. This is very it's serious. It speaks to the point of other people talking point they are been making. Should we demand more explanation? Perhaps there are more things that he have that we do not know yet. So what prompted this conversation now? Is it because of the political device? I think he's not just only to the people of Nima, but to the Liberian people as an elected senator of the country. If he knows and knows well, how long when he got to know that these people, that the very government he worked for, killed these people that he's telling us now? Dr. Toto?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a very damaging report. First, this is the auditor, one of the auditors, Yenswa, was a very good friend of mine, and even the horse that they say he fell for, he died. I knew that horse very well, all hang out in our house.
I visited the last time I was there.
And, when I was to live for like bro, was hanging in our house. He's a very good friend of ours. But we saw UG Fako made some grave statement the last time concerning the same incident. And Prince Johnson coming out again to speak on the incident. And this one that should draw attention to the government. And I always have problem with our justice minister in Liberia or the attorney general. I don't know the reason why. I don't know why. I think the reason why he's appointed for his minister, he's loyal to the president or the executive branch of the government. And in West country, in developed country, does not have an attorney general function. We see right in America in the function of the attorney general. When it comes to the level of the FBI, you see how they very function. We have a security system like the NSA. They are all been quiet on the incident that happened. Nobody gave a concrete report on the people coming over with statement. They are not even invited those people for consultation to ask them questions about where they get their source from. Nothing, we can't get anything, we can't get any information. We see the last on the show here again. The chief of staff came and make a sweeping statement about national security issues. Nobody, if they didn't, maybe the bicycle, but nothing came by in the public that the chief of staff was invited to ask a question. We don't know. I don't even know the function of NSA. I don't know how they function in our country. People come up and make issues that affect national security and do not call them to invite them or even hold a press conference to see that this statement that the people made is a grave concern statement that we investigate to find out what really prompted their mind to say it. Nobody, a pre-justice said it again. We don't see anything happen from all the UG Falcon said it. Nothing. UG Falcon should have been invited. They could have a press conference to call UG Falcon to ask him, he get more clarity. He was the deputy spokesperson for the government more peace. He said that those people were murdered in his government. The evidence are there. So it just either political season again, it left with the opposition to see how better the tighter grip on this type of thing to take the message out to the people there. But this is a concerning statement concerning those people that have been murdered in Liberia. If you get today, the president of the Yana Boy Association, they say he was killed in accident, and people are saying that his death is mysterious. It does not seem to be like an accident. There are some people who say he was murdered, and all that allegation coming out today. From Liberia, they say that he not looking like he was killed by accident. They call it for further investigation into his death. The president of the Yana Boy Association, or one Prince Kwadi.
Okay, I'm getting some message here. People are following here. Let's see. Hopefully, we can play the Liberal.
Yeah, Mr. So.
This is what
I really do not care to dignify anything coming from Prince Johnson, whether it's something that is detrimental to whatever that is happening in Liberia, because Prince Johnson has not been someone who is truthful, first thing, and Prince Johnson has not been someone who is stable, just like me. Let's put it that way. But on a very serious note, Prince Johnson, uh, when this thing happened in his own county, did he come out to make any kinds of demand on the government that this thing need to be done so that we'll have some clarity? That now you want clarity? Please, let me go back to what I want to, the thing I want to talk about. Back to the speech, Mr. So, the president's speech. Once again, I would say that the targeted audience, from my perspective, were three targeted audience. One is the Liberian people back in Liberia. The second one was the international community, and then the third will be the Liberian diaspora. To be honest with you, let me just read this portion of it here. He said, "Not only our individual patriotism be put on trial, but our institution of democracy will also be tested. I am of the stronger conviction that this is the test that we can and will pass. As you may be aware, I have continuously reaffirmed my commitment to free, fair, and transparent election, and to respect the democratic will of the Liberian people. I remain committed to that." That particular sentence or paragraph, it is not necessarily targeting to the Liberian, but I believe it's something that reassuring the international partners, the outside world. So I think once again, the president, those who wrote this speech, like I said, it's long, but if you start picking up, I think the opposition will do good if they can go and dissect this speech and not just put everything together and try to condemn it. Try to dissect it and then see which one you can try to really point to, like this harmonization issue. That those are the kinds of stuff you need to pick out. But if you take this whole speech and just wrap it up and say we're going to try to condemn it as it is, I think they will be doing themselves a disservice. And then finally, what I want to say on this here, Mr. So, finally, what I want to say on here too is that I'm getting that. Okay, well, I'll deal with it. I got a call from Liberia, by the way, but I'm going to call them back. So if you hear the sound, but finally, what I want to say on this speech here today, I think if we take our time within the next 2-3 days and really go through the speech, I think we will find that this, of course, everyone have already saying it, that this is a political speech, but that's what he needs to do anyway. However, we will hope at CDC from now until Friday that they don't put their own foot in their mouth, which is going to be difficult to do. You will find some major sedition, major partisan, major inner circle of George will come and make something or say something or do something that then would take away from the issue of this speech that people are going to be praising. And that's what they're doing. They're very good at that, Mr. Soul.
Okay, Senator, what his name? The new political leader of formerly Prince Johnson.
Let me say before you. I'm glad you brought out. Please just give me 1 minute. I think Senator, I believe his name is Kuhn. I believe
Jeremiah Kuhn.
That guy. If he hadn't had, if for some reason he didn't have Prince Johnson connection, he's smart, by the way, very smart, very intelligent. But what I think people are going to shy away from him is the connection to Prince Johnson. But if he didn't have the connection to Prince Johnson, I think most of the political heavyweight would have tried to gravitate towards him, to be honest with you.
Okay, before I bring in Senator Kuhn will be making an appearance here. More or less, he's kind of like having a lot of consultative conversation now. And I listened to you on the sister network, and we talk. That's the thing. He said, before I even come out, I want to make sure and he used the word, I don't want to be like a president, former vice president Argon. I must make sure and like my own backyard or before I get out there, which politically is a good thing. Amos George, good evening, welcome. Sese, let me say, Prince Johnson now, we know to give it compare the regime as Saul. One could guess now, we know who Saul was in the Bible. This seems to be like the door is completely sealed up with the relationship with the CDC. Politicians, there are a lot of uncertainty within politicians. Well, I don't want to put my life on the line here for that. Prince Johnson, he said that he named all the best, like the Liberal just said here. He's like a cutting edge guy. You know, you hold him on the back from the bag, he can gash you. You carry your hand in front, your toes, your fingers will be left. With this statement here, should CDC come out or the government should give a rebuttals or should address this issue now coming from Prince Johnson? But let's wait here. One of our people are listening, and so they always share information with us here as well. So I just want to play something here quickly. Let's see here.
So when we're talking here, hush. The coalition document expired in October of last year. You have not signed one yet. So you don't have a party. Hush. As I speak to you, George Weah does not have a coalition. So hush. As I speak to you, he licking Prince Johnson's shoes and sending his lieutenants to me. So hush. As it stands right now, George Weah, as he is, does not know his political future. So hush. Because what we know, remember, I was your minister for information when $16 billion came about. I ain't talked yet, so hush. 25 million. I ain't talked yet, so hush. The death of the auditors. I ain't talked yet, so hush. The 30 million stimulus. I ain't talked yet, so hush. If they send you here to challenge me, I will not even see you say, look at my glasses. Because
he was in government. All of these things that he outlined, he defended some of these positions of the government. Now, the king of Kapsa is on the other side of the world, telling people to hush. Sese, you being involved in a lot of things. Before I want you to speak today. Is he creating a political intimidation yet on the government? Well, I have a lot of things under my belt. You guys fire me. Your guys are coming to me. They are literally pulling me out. I am about to unleash. Some of his words now being echoed or reiterated by a sitting senator. How can CDC get out of this thing here? Should we take these guys seriously here, or because they are not in the system? They didn't tell us. They knew some of these things here. They were not out front with the Liberian people. This is the hypocrisy in this whole politics business. Sometimes people don't want to get into it. Is it too late, or we can still have a conversation listening to these guys?
Well, let me just state for our audience that for me, I find it despicable. And I imagine, I can only imagine the pain that the families and the loved ones of those people who died or were killed or were murdered, whatever it is, that their names keep being used as political football. You know, if I lost my friend, like Dr. Toto said, he was very close to one of those who were killed. I think every time hearing their names come up, when I know I haven't received justice, I've not received any clear understanding, I think it opens a new wound every time. And so for me, I think it's very despicable to keep dragging those people's name out here when we're not bringing the evidence to try to push people to persecute and find justice for those families. Now, having said that, there is a bigger picture. The bigger picture is that when you take people to war, when they're generous, you give them access to classified documents. When those generals defect, that's why the Russians will follow people in foreign land and put stuff in their coffee to kill them. So, because when they defect with things that you don't want out there. Hate it or love it, and I hate to give these people credence like the liberal said, but they've been in the room together. They know where some of those skeletons are, and they know how to push. But I'm excited, and you asked the question, should CDC respond to the PYJ? I think the last...
and not to interrupt you, not necessarily CDC, more or less a tie in with the government. So let's say the government.
The last time, Akaras Gray told the man that when he keep talking, we're going to attack him democratically. So the man decided to go to the church. Now they got to attack him biblically. So for me, I'm waiting for the right Reverend Bekugbe to be a fucking club and deliver on the sermon.
Here, come on.
Bekugbe coming for you. The man reading the Bible when they need to. But look, on a serious note, though, number one, if I were advising the presidential candidate right now, seriously, I would advise them against responding to the State of the Nation address. I think Prince Johnson was responding to the State of the Nation before the State of the Nation. The way you respond to the State of the Nation is not to go back on the air and dissect. You leave there for your surrogates to do that. You, as a political contender, you go in the villages, in the towns, in the cities, in the counties, and you talk to people. Yes, the people say they reduce inflation by 7%. Are you feeling it? What's the cost of Gary right now on the market? Right? The people say they pay for WAEC. And here's the thing. I like Mr. Abu say, the WAEC piece. You really think the government is going to talk about things that didn't work for them? The government knows the data is there, that even though they spend more money to pay for WAEC, the results of the WAEC has been more dismal than it's been before. So they're not going to talk about that. It's left with you opposition politicians to go and say, yeah, even though they put more money into education, what are we getting out? What are we getting out? Are you still getting the same quality of education? Do your children still have access to education? And are your teachers in the classroom like they used to be before George Weah became president? Yes, they say they pay for free education for post-secondary education. Are you not paying money out of your pocket for your kids to go to the community colleges? And you go to Lofa County Community College. How much were your kids paying before the free education? How much are you paying now with free education? Are you feeling the blessings of a free education? I think those are where you have those conversations. But to the extent that they come and stay on the platform or sit in some necktie and suit or some propose suit and try to respond to the president, State of the Nation, I think they will be playing right in the hand of the president of the president and the CDC, and they can have that argument all day because then they tie you down. So you leave that to your surrogates, you leave that to your expert, you bring your economic expert, you bring your educational expert, you bring your health expert, and let them dissect what the president said and what the gaps are. The president went 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. What did he return with, right? Did he return with anything after coming from the wilderness? So you talk about that. Maybe he would be Moses, he would part the Red Sea, he bring it here. But you have to leave these things with surrogates to deal with it. The president has spoken, and for me, I keep saying the president did well in his speech. State of the Nation addresses are meant to be political. They are meant for you to speak to your base, to reactivate your base and tell them this is what we have done so they can run with it and see that's what they've done. And the president did that 100%.
Oh, my goodness. Let me bring in Amos Joyce town clipping before bringing in Cotto here. 40 days, 40 nights in the wilderness. This is Amos Joyce.
Yeah.
Good evening. So it's better late than never. What's your thoughts on the so far on the president? I mean, like Samson, and I agree with him. I don't usually agree with him, but we're going to take time to kind of like a review and see whether there will be some fixes at the end of the day from the president or from the bell of the ruling establishment. But let's hear from you.
Well, politically, it was a good speech for them, for his partisans. But when you start to analyze it point by point. And you see all the loopholes in it. I didn't even listen because it was too long for me. So let me be frank. It was too long. And I start seeing all the gaps and things. I just, hey, let me leave it. He talked about the road construction route he mentioned. What is the start of that road? What is it today that he telling people they are doing the construction when the whole thing in the Senate had come to a halt, a standstill. But he said they are making progress. He's talking about the economics. Inflation was 30-something percent. And from his estimate, less than, I think, a year plus, it came down to 7%. But what can the people feel that inflation is at 7%? When in fact, they just carry the price of rice up. So I don't know, somewhere to the economic genius, how can you have that low inflation and the price of rice, you people have increased the price of rice? And as I was saying, ask the people, what is the direct impact of this low inflation in Liberia? Prices are still high. So how can the president boast of it? Look at front page today, the disparity in salaries. How can he defend that? So these are issues need to be raised with the voters to say, hey, this is what I listened to one guy the other day. I think it was one of Joseph Baga event on Broad Street, and she was saying the school fee, the payment of school fee and WAEC, she don't see the need because right now she's paying, I think she said she's in the 12th group, but she's paying $15,000 out of her pocket as an expense. $15,000 now she's paying. So like, when you say, okay, we cut the tax down here and we increase this one. That's the strategy. We say we abolish wire fee, but we'll increase the other fees in the schools. So the other, someone said, oh, CDC was, oh, we pay wire fee. But look at the other fees that you have quadruple. So these are issues that the opposition needs to start talking to the voters about.
Okay.
So the person's speech, as I said, was political. That was the base you're playing to, and they are running with it. But when you start dipping deeper, you find out the analysis was not right and it's not right. He took all that money to say candidate tour. What is the impact of that money? Can someone tell me today, in total, as a result of that tour, what's the impact there? In Lofa, as a result of that tour, what is the impact in those districts? So, I mean, but CDC, now he parted, that he based, they will run with it. And let me just say something about the Prince Johnson issue you talk about.
Yeah, quickly, yeah, we are going out of time.
Let me say this. For many of us, we will put, always for me, I will continue to put this thing at the doorstep of the government. Because the thing is very simple. From the government own explanation they gave, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. How can someone shoot themselves 3 times in the head? Come on, man. The late child said, you can't tell the late child to believe that one. Give till Lama husband said it from day one that my wife had beach sand on her shoes and everything. Did the police come out to address it? Have we seen the phone record? The last one that spoke to these people? So it's just that people have seen it. But the facts, the thing, the boy is in the government court. They have not done anything to convince the Liberian people how these people were killed.
Okay.
The government Liberia is a suspect in the death of many of these people.
All right. Okay, Koto, let me bring you in here after your comment, then we can go 1 minute each to do a wrap out, and perhaps you can do anything, but I will say, what do we anticipate hearing from the oppositions after the president's 6th, I believe, annual? If you are oppositions in the interest of Liberia, put aside your political affiliations. Let's say your groups speaks tomorrow or day after, and they don't say something, will you come back here to be honest before the camera and say it as we are doing right now? So, Koto, let me bring you in here. Prince Johnson, Eugene Fagon, all of these people here now saying all of this, they were there before. Should we count their words, or what are they doing here? Unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mr. So. For the issue of with Fagon, I really don't like to give credence to him because he a runaway man, and yeah, it's like they kick it will be backing and you see it going beyond a parent door or going beyond a mother door and be, that's not be a man, And this is where for me the person I think sometimes, just the way he presented is so bad is Yeke. Yeke is there and he faced the event and he speaks the way he speaks. He never run and be talking like one kick it back and putting his taste back there. For me, I take that as a kick it dog, dog. Yeah. So to Prince now, our Senator Prince Johnson. It was this very same Prince Johnson, the killing of the 3 boys was, I think they said that if fight that, one of those boys were, I think some relatives were from Nima, that they thought that case Prince Johnson would have, taken a huge step into it, to the point that he was given the responsibility to talk with Zaza Kawa then at the time, that they were supposed to go there because they said they had a great country, they were all and all of these, the formality. They needed to follow up on that case. We are yet to hear from Prince Johnson as to what was the outcome of that investigation at the time. Even the Chief Zaza Kawa. So they sat there and all of these things died down and nothing is being said about it. It's only now that political issues coming out now, you see him coming with all of these issues. And besides, he is a senator in the house there. He has the responsibility to call, they sit there and say they are senators, they are representatives, but these are issues that they're supposed to be addressing there. It is their responsibility. If the executive didn't do something about it, the legislature is supposed to do something about it. But what did they do? Up to this time, nothing had been done. Okay, and going back to, I think we say our last.
You want to go on the last 1 minute now?
Oh yeah, you saying it? So let me.
Yeah, no, I mean I want to know your endpoint. Then so we'll start with a bit. You want to go with okay?
Yeah, going back to the president statement. As we go, we keep hitting little by little. I saw even when it comes to the budget. We see they have the budget of $785.6 million, and the projection of what they collect is $640.5 million. As an accountant, it raises eyebrow because how will you spend more than what you're generating? Okay, let's agree that they say that okay, they are the first to ever have such a budget, but let's look at the physical aspect of the citizen, what impact is it making on their life? Okay, if Ellen did have a lower budget and I come in now to as a president now making a big budget, I should see it in the lifestyle of the citizens. But are we really seeing it in the lifestyle of the citizen? So those are questionable. You cannot come and say, I tell my children, okay, I'm making 100,000 or 500,000 every month, but again, they can't even have food to eat in the house. How does that, correlate with my income and expenses in my home? So this is the thing we're seeing, okay? Yeah, so far.
Okay, guys, let me get you 1 minute each before we can go. Dr. Toto, wrap it up for you. All of the rain, snow, sun being shining here. What should we be looking up to now? All of these things you are giving, all of the loopholes here, does the opposition have the ability to capitalize on it and keep the conversation, like Sissy said, or we're going to be coming back and on the same red meat here? Let's hear from you before we go.
I mean, there's so many takeaways from that speech the opposition can create a talking point of, a lot of stuff in the speech. But like I said, we know the president has some limitation. We don't want to come a year from the opposition that the president had no limitation that really skill, terribly skill, also to make a case. I don't think that what we want to see. But the beauty of this is like I want to democracy is moving in a positive direction. For the fact that we can all sit and be discussing this issue, to critique the president as a talk show host and also other instrument in Liberia to criticize or to call upon the government. It shows that our democracy heading in a positive direction. It's not like the old days. And one of the takeaways from the president's speech was also about the president about diaspora Liberia. The president talked about remittances from the diaspora and have a huge impact the economy back in Liberia. I think he talked about 4% made up on a review. That's a huge thing from diaspora. Liberian diaspora should be proud of that. Because if diaspora Liberia were not ready sending remittances back home in our country, we have an economic collapse in our particular country.
So it validates the argument we have been saying, like other people diaspora not doing nothing now. The president has alluded, the president has,
and then the issue of the dual citizenship also too, we advocated for it, and today we can boast of dual citizenship to the government.
Thank you so much.
That's a huge support also for the government and direction too.
Thank you so much. I will purposely intend to create a saying before we leave here. And trust me, that saying will take place between the liberal progressive and the man from the far right. So they're going to be the last two. And I just want you to watch the showdown that is about to be created between Amos George and that of Samson Toe. In that regard, I will bring Sissy, and Sissy is going to set the blaze, and then Liberal will be caught in crossfire again this evening as usual. Okay, Sissy, we are going on. We say our job is to have this sort of honest conversation, and it's left with the people to do what they can do. The opposition. I know you very blunt always, and sometimes I'm not sure whether they will even get you in their in their cycle because they will kick you out one day. What should be the focus of the opposition now? I mean, they are looking for the job. Why should we give them this job? Are they able to articulate that, to set that line aside? Yeah, it's not just about don't vote George Weah, don't vote George Weah. Okay, you don't want us to vote George Weah. What do you have to replace with, that you can replenish? That's an argument that we're going to be making. What we should be looking out for then?
I think the opposition should be very careful not to carry us back to the days where the electorates got so tired of hearing the same message over and over until they responded with, he came mama, he came papa, I will vote for him. Because during the 1997 election, all Amos Sawyer and all of these learned people were saying, Taylor kill your pa, Taylor bro war. They was like, tell us something different. We know that. And the same thing happened with my Ellen, right? Mama na can let papa go sit down, right? The message. The same thing happened with Dr. George Weah, right? He no vote, we now no vote for him because the opposition kept talking about the man can speak English, the man can speak English, the man is not eloquent. The people were forced to say, you know what, give us something else. We know that. We know that. And I think the opposition will be well advised to kind of talk to the people about how do they see, what is your vision, what's your aspiration for the nation? Quoting a very smart Liberian philosopher, Jonathan Kofa Takunje, your mission and your vision, your intention to this nation is simple, because that's what people got to be talking about. What is the vision of Tewan Gongo? How do you make sure that WAEC scores are higher? Do we even need WAEC? How do you make sure that people in Kawiaken don't have just one school, a government school that is maybe 10 miles away without transportation? How do you ensure that education is a property right, Therefore, every Liberian should have access to free, quality, appropriate education. How do you talk about the collective security? How do we make security for all, regardless of how much money you make? How do we talk about the rule of law? That some people don't live above the law while other people live below the law, that everybody lives at the same level of the law. So you got to talk to people about the pocketbook issues. There are people who, everywhere in the world, death happen. I give that. But the seriousness with which the security apparatus investigates those deaths, we have to have those conversations. You have to have the conversation about self-sufficiency, right? We're talking about the idea of reducing what's the thing, inflation by 7%, but the staple. The cost of the staple, rice, is still high if you look at what people have been harmonized at. Talk to people about that. Can you afford rice now that your money has been reduced? So I think the opposition will do well by putting issues down, issues that matter to the people. Talk to the people about how do you see them getting self-sufficient. Forget about whether the president pronounced the word right or he didn't pronounce the word correctly, or whether the president passed it around wearing 30,000 shoes. You have to tie this thing into how does that make the people life better? How do you intend to make their lives better? Because in opposition, that will be credible. Has to be an opposition that win an election, not because people voted against George Weah, but they won an election because the people voted for them, and there's a difference.
Thank you so much. Amos Joyce, I want to be fair to you. These guys, they didn't tell you in your absence. The Liberal took almost 2-3 minutes slamming you, and your guy is not the right person, and you guys are deceiving the Liberian people, but he is best suited, and this is why people should vote for his guy. Let me just bring you in here. You listen to Sissy here. Do you think the opposition will pay or are they going to play into the same cheap sort of conversation? Because, and this comes to the point we're being saying here, we need to start having some of these people that really to represent them, to be speaking on specific things. That way gives all a hope. When it comes to education, agriculture, security, we need to have an expert. And I do know there are a lot of folks that are supporting these different people, but other than still holding back. That's alone is a concern because they can flip anytime here. Let's hear from you here. What should be our hope in the opposition if they are serious that George Weah should be one term? Why should we trust them?
It's policy difference. How you going to do things? I really don't care about what they say. A George Weah can say he can come and any kind of way you want to call it. I don't care about that. What I care about is what is affecting the Liberian people. That's what matters. You want to go and analyze, he can't pronounce this, he can't do this, that's your business. What people should be focused on, how can they message to challenge the government and tell the people we can do it differently. I've been seeing it a few times. Nigeria election, I gotten to the point so fascinated about this guy. Peter Obi, they call him now the young Barack Obama in Nigeria. This guy is challenging the status quo now. Saying that, look, all the old people, I mean, you go there, that's just a word. We will have corruption, security is the problem of this country. I'm going to change it, and this is how I'm going to do it. I did it this place, and I can do it. So this is what today needed in Liberia. Not focus on George Weah's speech, but telling the people what is wrong. Then you say, okay, security is in the country, but by 6 o'clock, everybody running to get home. What are you going to do to change that paradigm? You say that you're fighting corruption, but you can't show one person within the 5 that have been convicted under your government. And what you want to do if you are there, we're going to hold people accountable. We'll make sure people have the day in court when they are accused. We're going to do it this way. That's why is needed in Liberia from the opposition. Not going to George where he can't speak this and that. No. The people know that one already. They made him president. So we cannot do it on it. What we should be doing on it is the pocketbook issue. When you say that today, look at what he said, that he had made corruption a priority in his country. But how many persons, 5 years going to 6 years, have been prosecuted under George Weah? Can't see it. All the mysterious death, you cannot see a conclusive investigation. So these are issues that we need, opposition need to be speaking about. Not just we are speaking English, no. So this is the point we are at now. But I just want to close on this note, you know. Peter Obi, the guy from Nigeria, said something. He said, age is matter. He said, people been telling it was the youth time, when he was in college. He's now 50 some more years old. These people are still in power.
Oh, he's getting to the liberal now.
He said, how can they say it's the future of the country lies within the youth? I'm 50 something, the man is 70 something. When I was in college, he was telling me it was the youth that will take this country. I'm 50 some more. How can he say that? And he running for president to say the youth time. He said, your own mind is in here. Samson told, let me tell you.
But hold on.
Morocco, that's a kingdom. Iran doesn't have a democracy. Saudi Arabia doesn't have a democracy. So you can't compare Liberia to those countries. You tell me, you want to commend the president this and he can't do that. We're not from Morocco. Morocco doesn't have a democracy. Iran doesn't have a democracy. Saudi Arabia doesn't have a democracy. If you want to compare, go to Britain or America, then you're talking something. I was listening to you.
All right.
Don't
guys, that's how we're going to end the show tonight. I'm sure the liberal will say he doesn't have a word as usual. You will not want to respond. The liberal.
Thank you very much and good night, folks. Been a wonderful, wonderful show.
There you go.
I will look at my screen. I will drink and say, hey, look, I will try hard to get on that show. Because something to talk about.
He's looking for a fight. He's looking for a fight. I don't want to fight you. So just leave it.
Oh, Koto, Jana.
The liberation here to know. Okay, guys, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for the time. We'll be back here by God's willing, same time, same. Tomorrow we'll get more details about the speech as well. Guys, thank you so much and have a pleasant evening.
I love my brother. Take care, man. Something to.
Okay, the liberal progressive. Well, folks, that does it. I am Afonso Z, and so to all our many viewers, listeners, followers, your comments, your tweet are so much energizing to us to do what we are doing here. We want to thank you so much for being here. We're going to be listening to the opposition response to the president's State of the Union, and you heard that. We're going to keep it proportionate, but before we go, more news coming according to our sister network here to reporting that the state of Florida Antonin office has now filed a petition regarding the CEO and others in this fake licensing of nicing. In fact, we are now hearing the list will be published. Philadelphia seems to be the most hit in terms of those that obtain those certificates. African Star is telling us this evening now the listing stays to be in their possession, but they are telling them the federal will be publishing that as well. So that is still unfolding as those news becomes available. We'll bring it right to you. But the Antonin for the state of Miami has filed a motion already against the two accused in this situation, but we keep following the news. Until then, I'm Afonso Z and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. We want to thank you for your time, for your company, being here with us. We'll be back here same time, same network. Thank you so much and have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.
DJ Square Production Classic today.
Oh, don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. We are gone, don't wait. Don't wait till I die. Don't wait, yeah. Don't wait, my brother, don't wait. My sister, don't wait. Don't wait till I'm in the hospital, don't wait. I'm dying, don't wait.